Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of the Lost in Translation podcast. Listen, y'all. Today I had something that just didn't sit right in my spirit, man. It came from a show yesterday from Black Men Unfiltered, man, and I'm gonna get into it. But before I get started, I'm gonna go ahead and welcome to the chat, Marcus. Thank you so much for coming out. Gas mask in the building. What's happening? You know what I'm saying? Here's my thing. Yesterday we had a show on Black Men Unfiltered, and we were talking about different things, man. Different topics, man. We're talking about the role of a man, and we start talking about should a man, keep the kids while the wife go out and work. With during that conversation, we kind of got into it about the actual worth of a man. And during the conversation, it got a little heated. We were talking to Take Heed and the other ladies, and they were talking about, hey, if a guy doesn't work or whatever, he gives up his kingship. You know what I'm saying? And some alpha dude comes in and he slays his queen. Listen, a lot of times, man, when we say stuff, we have to make sure that we have to validate it and find out where it comes from. You know what I'm saying? And kind of put some reason to it. Because these days in social media, man, we love to say stuff, man, that's sensationalized. But when we try to apply it in real life, it really don't work. So today we're going to ask the question, what is the true value of a man? And I did a little bit of research, man, and I'm not going to hold you guys. I'm just going to share my screen. What is the true worth of a man? So I put together this little slideshow. I'm not going to hold y'all, but I'm going to ask the question, what is the true worth of a man? Every time you look up, you got people, singing the songs, if you ain't got no J.O.B., you can't be with me. Nobody want to see no scrubs. Scrubs, somebody can't get nowhere from me and all this other stuff, man. They just make songs about it. But at the same time, if the shoe was on the other foot, they were doing the best that they could. Or could you help a sister out? You know what I'm saying? Or my famous 20 in the front and 40 in the back. However you want to make it work out. Well, here's the thing. I want to talk to you guys from the beginning and to find out exactly what that is and where the kingship comes from and who gives it. You know what I'm saying? And before we got to do that, we got to go back in time, man, way back in time. I don't know if some of you guys read the Bible or not, but I'm going to make sure that we pull this out of context so we know exactly what we're looking at. Now, in Genesis 2, chapter 19 to 25, I actually backed it up one verse because I wanted to give you guys context, okay? So you can exactly see the actual role of a man and the actual role of a woman. It says, now the Lord God had formed out of the ground all the wild animals and all the birds in the sky. And he brought them to the men to see what he could name them. And whatever the man called each living creature, that was its name. Verse 20. So, but for Adam, no suitable helper was found. So the Lord God caused the man to fall asleep, to a deep sleep. And while he was sleeping, he took one of the man's ribs, then closed up the place with flesh. Then the Lord God made a woman from the rib he had taken out of the man and brought her to the man. And the man said, this is now bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, for she was taken out of the man. Now, verse 24. That is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they became one flesh. And Adam and his wife were both naked, and they felt no shame. So basically, in this particular situation, God saw fit that it was not right for man to be alone. He was out here in the garden, working, minding his own business, doing his thing. And the Lord was like, you know what? I'm gonna give him a helper to help him do his work. Now, he didn't call Eve to sit down somewhere and chill out and be at the house chilling. No, he did not call her to do that. He called her to work. And for some strange reason, our sisters don't want to read this part. They think that they supposed to sit down and just chill. And that's not how that works. Even the work is not the same. Even though we have gender roles and we have things like that, man, to make sure we divvy up the stuff because it's better. You know what I mean? That type of thing. But for some strange reason, we forget that we're supposed to work together, And I don't understand that. So my thing is this, the conversation that we had yesterday was about if he doesn't work, then he doesn't eat, or he doesn't get a chance to keep his kingdomship. Well, let's ask what's going on in Genesis chapter 3. Now, this is after the fall, and this is the conversation that God had between Adam and Eve. We left out the part with the serpent. We don't care two nothings about what he did, because we already know what he did. So we had to go back a little bit further in Genesis chapter 3, 16 through 19, and we start dealing out the punishments and what's going on. So after God had already talked to the serpent, he said what he had to say. Then he got down to Genesis chapter 3, 16 through 19. He says, to the woman, he said, I will make your pains in childbirth very severe. With painful labor, you will give birth to your children. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. Wow. See, that's the part that nobody want to talk about. You know what I mean? It's the rebellious nature of a woman to want to usurp her husband's authority. And here's the thing, that's the main reason why God put this little clause in here. You see what I'm saying? It's to make sure that, hey, your obedience will be to your husband, and he'll rule over you. He's going to be responsible for you. You know what I mean? So in other words, you're going to have to do what he tells you to do. Now, let's go ahead and see what the punishment for Adam was. He says to Adam, he said, because you have listened to your wife and ate fruit from the tree about which I commanded you, you must not eat from it. Cursed is the ground because of you. Through painful toil, I mean, you working, brother, you will eat food from it all the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles. That means the land gonna work against you, brother. So you might as well go get ready. For you, and you will eat the plants of the field by the sweat of your brow. See, man, you working, brother. You working. As a reminder. You will eat your food until you return to the ground, since from it you were taken. For dust you are, and dust you shall return. So that was his punishment. His punishment was to go out and work tirelessly. You know what I mean? The earth was going to fight against you. It was going to toil against you as a reminder to make sure that you don't give up your command. You see what I'm saying? You don't give up your kingship. Remember, I left you in charge, and you let everybody else do whatever the devil they want to do. Now, here's the thing. The conversation that we had yesterday, they were talking about if a man doesn't work, he gives up his kingship or whatever. Well, here's my thing. When God put Adam in the garden, he was already working. He already had a job. So for us to make up something about him not having a job is disingenuous. Number one, you wouldn't have selected nobody who didn't have a job in the first place.
Thief! Stop! Thief! Come back, thief!
See, you wouldn't do that. You would think he would be robbing you. That's not how that works. You would never entertain somebody who ain't had nothing for you. So that's the part of the conversations that we really need to address. People act like all of a sudden they get with somebody and then they don't have a job, or they're not working or whatever. That's not how that works. What was he surviving at before he met you? Well, did he have his own place? Did he have his own car, his own health care, his own business or whatever? You know, we got to stop the conversation as if men just wake up out of nowhere and are not working. You know, I will tell you this, guys will disappear and not work for you.
Did you hear what I said?
They won't work for you because they don't see the value in what you bring to the table. And I think that's probably the reason why a lot of people get upset about asking people, what do you bring to the table? Because it's gobbledygook. It is trash. You know what I'm saying? It's, matter of fact, if you told them the same thing that they said they was bringing to the table, that you was bringing to the table, they will swear that that's not good enough. We had this exercise yesterday where we were talking about, you know, if the husband stayed at home and took care of the kids and cleaned the house or whatever, the woman would be upset because they will swear that that's not good enough. He's supposed to get out there and work and do all this other stuff. But at the same time, if you turn that thing around and you say, women will say the same thing, well, I clean up and I take care of the kids or whatever. So all of a sudden now it's a big deal. Well, is it a big deal because you did it, or is it a big deal because they did it? You know what I'm saying? That's my whole thing. We got to start having honest conversations. And the real reason why I went on tonight is because it's been a minute since I had a conversation with you guys one-on-one. Let me tell you something. I love panels. I really do. But I hate to have to fight through waiting for somebody else to say something before I can get my piece out. So that's the main reason why I'm having this little talk with y'all tonight, is because I needed to get this off my chest. So now that we got two references from the Bible about, you know, hey, what were the punishments? What happened? Who's supposed to rule over what was going on? The next question is, who grants kingship? That was what was on the table. You know what I mean? Who grants kingship? I asked ChatGPT, how is kingship normally granted? And it gave me a few answers. It said in many societies and cultures throughout history, kingship has been granted or legitimized by various reasons. These are the reasons that it gave. Divine right. Some monarchies claim that kingship is bestowed directly by the will of God or divinity, giving the ruler a divine mandate to govern. So in other words, God bestowed upon this particular person to rule. Now, number two, a way that succession concedes is hereditary succession. In hereditary monarchies, kingship is passed down within a royal family from one generation to the next, typically from parent to child through a designated line of succession. In other words, your heirs. You know what I mean? That's how it's granted. It's granted through your loins, through your heirs. Number three, election or appointment. In some cases, kingship may be determined through election by a council of nobles, tribal leaders, or representatives of the people. Alternatively, a ruler might appoint a successor during their reign. Kind of like Black Panther, y'all. Remember when Black Panther daddy was he was stepping down as being the Black Panther, but he still wanted to be the king of Wakanda, and he passed it down to T'Challa? That's what happened in this particular situation. Even though T'Challa was his son, the role of the Black Panther was still split up. It was the King Black Panther, and then it was the warrior Black Panther. So in this particular situation, those two would apply. Number four, conquest or military power. Kingship can also be acquired through military conquest or by seizure of power, where the strongest or most successful leader claims the throne. Legal, number five, legal or constitutional means. In constitutional monarchies or modern states, kingship may be established or recognized through legal frameworks such as a constitution or parliamentary approval. Pretty much what they got over there in England. You know, they got a little bit of both over there. Now, it also gives a caveat. It says the specific method of granting kingship varies widely across cultures and historical periods, reflecting the diverse ways societies legitimize political authority. So those are basically the ways that kingship is granted. So let me ask y'all a question. Is kingship for sale? Is it for sale? You know what I mean? Can kingship be bought? You know, I hear a lot of women who says that, You know, if you don't have enough money, you can't be my king. You know, that type of thing. And then if you don't have enough money while we're together, I'm gonna give it up to some alpha buck somewhere, and he's gonna abdicate your throne. Well, let me ask you a question. Let's go ahead and visit Matthew 26 and 15. This is where actually Judas betrayed Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. And he walked up to the Romans. He was like, what are you willing to give me if I deliver him over to you? So they counted out for him 30 pieces of silver. Judas thought he was gonna get Jesus messed up for 30 pieces of silver. See, here's the thing, that ain't nothing new, man. We've been selling out our leaders for money for decades. Even in this particular situation with this election cycle, look what happened to Joe Biden. They said, you know what, Joe? We're not gonna give you no money because we don't think you should run no more, and we think you should step out. Yeah, and we also think that Kamala would probably be a better candidate than you because you know we appreciate you. You've done all you can do. We just gonna hold you. We're just gonna hold this money out. And when I look at Kamala, I see somebody who was like Judas, sold this man out for 30 pieces of silver. You know what I'm saying?
Did you hear what I said?
Is the kingship for sale? You know? But in the conversation that we had yesterday, you know, it was talking about how the woman would actually look at the man as if he's less than, as if he's a female dog, so to speak. And I really don't think that's how the kingship works. You know, we just discussed how the kingship was passed down, and I don't think giving it away to some other dude because you had sex with him abdicates that man's kingship. You know why? Because the kingship was not yours to give nor take away.
Did you hear what I said?
Here's the problem. We love to give ourselves more credit than we actually have. You know, in the beginning, when God created Adam, he gave him dominion. He didn't ask Eve.
Did you hear what I said?
What she thought. She wasn't even here. He gave it to Adam. That was a conversation between Adam and God. And he said, look, I'm going to make you ruler, but I just need you not to eat over this foolishness over here. You see what I'm saying? He put her in charge. There has never been a time in history where the queen made a king.
Did you hear what I said?
Even the last queen that we had, she was married to the prince, and she could never make him the king. So my whole thing is this, ladies, you cannot make your man the king. He was already the king. He was already king because it was bestowed by God upon him. That's it. Now he can make you queen all day long. You see what I'm saying? But you can't make him king because he already has authority. And I think the problem that we have today is that we don't have a respect for the throne.
Did you hear what I said?
We don't have a respect for men. I mean, think about it. Every time you look up, when we see these podcasts, it's always somebody talking over men. It's always somebody interrupting them. It's always somebody having something sly to say. It's always somebody interjecting something that's not true. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to give up. You're going to abdicate your kingship if you don't pay a bill or this. Man, what did Adam do before bills was around? Was he still not the king?
Did you hear what I said?
Was he still not in charge before the bill collector even was invented? You know, we got to stop. We got to stop, y'all. We really do. We got to stop the foolishness, man, because it's making us look sad. We're applying things of the world and expecting us to get what the rest of the world has. And we're in last place because we don't recognize leadership. True leadership is passed on from leader to leader. It is a long, arduous process of having a conversation from one leader to the next. It is. It's not for somebody to give it up and say, hey, look, if you don't do this, you know, I'm gonna give up my box to some other random dude. You still not giving up the kingship. You just going from one kingdom to the next. You didn't affect one kingdom to the next, and you're still just the queen. You see what I'm saying? My whole thing is we got to start respecting the throne, man. Start getting back to respecting the throne. See, look, that's what happened with Jesus. They disrespected him, put him on the cross and hung him up, you know, but he still had compassion enough to say, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Even in his capacity to withstand pain, to fight off death, and came back, and he still was fighting on our behalf. But you know what? That 30 pieces of silver didn't stop him from being king.
Did you hear what I said?
You know what? Death didn't stop him from being king.
Did you hear what I said?
You know what I'm saying? See, that's my whole thing, man. We gotta stop and think about it for a minute, man. We gotta be real. Now, I'm gonna drop the link, and if you guys want to join in, you can. But if not, I'm gonna wrap this thing up. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the chat. And if you guys want to come up, you can. Because I think this is a conversation that needs to be had. So, and you don't have to cam up, because I already know who you are. If you don't feel like it. But that's the link to the chat. But I mean, that little conversation kind of bothered me yesterday, because, you know, people thought the kingship was theirs to take away or give, and it's not. How can you take away something you didn't earn? How can you take away something you didn't give? You know, we got to stop that, man. We do. We got to stop that. So that's the main reason why the purpose of this live is to make sure that we understand the true value of a man. You know, it's not 30 pieces of silver. It's not, you know, whether or not your bills and your creature comforts are taken care of or whatever, you know, because to think about it, if you're worth your weight in salt, a man is going to take care of you, you know, because you're worthy to be taken care of. But the problem is that we have today is we have a whole bunch of people demanding it, and they hadn't put in no work.
Did you hear what I said?
They ain't put in no work. They don't know how to talk to people. They don't know how to uplift people. They don't know how to edify people. You know, they don't know how to correct people. They use tone as an excuse not to be correct. I hear guys all the time saying, hey, you know what, man, if you're just better, the women will fall in line. That's a lie. You have to be taught how to be correct. You have to be taught to be a lady. You have to be taught to be a wife, just like you have to be taught to be a leader. Stuff just doesn't come natural. And that's the problem. That's the problem. We always think that if we do just enough, somebody else will fall in line. That's conditional compliance. I wouldn't want anybody around me that's just doing it, you know, just because I made them do it. That's manipulation. I don't want to manipulate anybody. I don't want to have anybody who I have to manipulate, because that's somebody who can be bought. You know, you're going to wind up like Judas, man, selling folks out for 30 pieces of silver. You know, that's my whole thing. But that's what it is. But here's the thing, y'all. That's my spiel for tonight. I'm not going to drag this thing on. But I just wanted to make sure that we got this straight. The kingship is not yours to give or to take away. You know what I'm saying? Whether you in your feelings or not, or whether the bills get paid or the trash didn't get took out when you felt like it. You know what I mean? You know, be of service. You know, help those around you, and do it with a cheerful heart. Even the Bible said the Lord loves a cheerful giver. That means of your time, you know, of your money, of your resources, of your respect, you know, be cheerful. It shouldn't be tied into what somebody else does, because one day they might not be able to do it, you know? And here's my thing. I think a lot of times people don't think that we gonna get old someday. You know what I mean? You're not always gonna be able to do for yourself. So if you've built your whole entire relationship on whether or not somebody can do for you, the minute that they can't do, they're going to see your true colors, and they're going to look back on their life and say, my God, who did I invest in? My God, who is this person that's laying next to me? I don't even know who you are anymore. Well, that's the same person. They've been there. You just chose to ignore the signs. They told you they were for sale. They told you that they wanted 20 in the front and 40 in the back. That was the agreement. For some strange reason, you just forgot. You thought that you was going to keep on being able to work all the way to the days to the end of your life. I'm here to tell you, man, that's not going to happen. I've seen my grandparents get old and pass away, and they got to the point where they couldn't do for themselves. And that's a reality I think a lot of people aren't privy to. You know, I'm going to bring this up. She said, Cotelia says, Corinthians 2, every man according as he pursueth in his heart. So let him give, not begrudgingly or necessity, for God loveth a cheerful giver. Thank you so much, Cotelia. Thank you so much. See, look, that's what I'm talking about. Coming in, helping the brother out with the scriptures. I knew it was there, but she went back and got the doggone original copy. You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. Hear what I said? So that's my whole thing, man. I don't want to just put stuff out there just to be putting it out there because I'm in my feelings. I want to put it out there because it's right, whether I'm right or wrong. You see what I'm saying? Make sure that you give cheerfully and out of a place of abundance. Don't give because you thinking you're going to get something back. That's not how that works. God grants the increase. Remember that. He grants the increase. He does. But it's up to you to make sure that you plant the seed, you know? God gives us the incubator, the time, the seed, the water, the sunshine. He actually does all the work. All we had to do is just put the seed in the ground. You know, he does all the work. But you know what, though? We like to take all the credit. Did you hear what I said? We love to say, look what I grow. You know what I'm saying? We never give God his proper credit. You know what I'm saying? Think about it. He woke you up this morning. You know, he made sure that you made it through the night so you can get up the next day. And we wake up with the arrogance to think that, you know, somehow we made ourselves rise. No, we didn't. No, we didn't. And that's the whole hubris about, you know, whether or not you can take away a man's kingship, you know, because you felt like, you know, he wasn't doing it the right way or the way you wanted him to. We got to stop, y'all. And I'm saying this out of love. I'm saying it out of love because here's the thing. People will come back and say it was your tone. And take it up with God. I said it as nice as I could. Could tell you even put it on paper for y'all. You know what I'm saying? As nice as she could. You know, it's up to you to want to do it. I see a lot of people, man, get on these podcasts, man, and different little shows like on TikTok. Everybody wants a quick answer. Shout out to Brittany, you know, over on TikTok. You know, she teaches the ladies how to be wives. And the first thing they always ask her, well, what can I find a husband? And the next thing she said, are you prepared to be a wife? You know, there's no sense of you looking for a husband if you're not prepared to be a wife. What have you been doing in your single season to get you ready to be a wife? And I think that is the question that we need to start asking. Brothers already know they have to provide. It goes without saying. But today's day, I think the farther we get away from actually being around wives and knowing wives, we lose a little bit of that magic that wives bring to the table. You know, that little thing where they ask you, hey, have you eaten today? You know, little small things of caring. You know, hey, let me run your bath. Well, let me rub your back. You know, let me give you a hug. That type of thing. Just the common stuff that don't cost nothing. You know what I mean? We didn't ask you to go out and buy us a Lamborghini. You know what I'm saying? All we asked was for a hug and some kind words, and we act like that's pulling teeth. But my whole thing is, if it's not in you, did you hear what I said? You keep that. You know, don't waste my time. Don't waste your time. Find somebody else who's willing to put up with that. You know, and I always tell fellas, make sure that you vet these women properly, man. And sometimes you got to bury your flesh, man. It's hard to do. I understand. Trust me, I'm a man. I understand. But at the end of the day, I know what it looks like to get it right. I also know what it looks like when you get it wrong. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're gonna have to die to your flesh, man, and ask the questions that need to be asked. You know, how do you plan on raising your kids? You know, how do you view parenting? You know, should parents have difficult conversations in front of the kids so they can learn? Or is this something that we should keep behind closed doors between me and you? You know, those are the difficult conversations we really need to have. You know, who's going to be disciplined? What form of discipline are we going to use? Are we going to be hands-on? Or are we going to be the teaching kind? You know, Those are the conversations we need to have. Because when you're in the middle of something and you really hadn't talked about it, that's when it becomes difficult. You know, that's when it becomes difficult. And then also you have to start thinking about economics of your household too. You know, how often do you guys cook the books? How often do you guys go over the books and say, hey, look, this is what we got coming in and this is what we got going out? Is there something that you need from the budget? Let us know so we can go ahead and set that aside. And people think that it's slavery because two people agreed on something, you know, and people love to scream generational wealth. Oh yeah, I'm building generational wealth. Not with one person, you ain't. Not with one person, you not. You know what I mean? My whole thing is this: when you put two people together and two incomes together, and you put that thing in compound interest, as the bank will say, your money will grow a whole lot faster. But if you sit on your tail and you don't take advantage of the years that you're able to work, and you labor next to your husband, and you let him do everything, you wear out his body quicker. I was looking at a stat the other day that said the average black man lives to the age of 75, which is only a few years after retirement. So you mean to tell me that a man in his household works his entire life providing for his family and those around him, and he only gets the last 5 years of his life? And not the good 5 years. He gets the 5 years where your body's falling apart, where you really can't get around that good. You know, and then for you not to honor him by talking about you gonna give up his kingship, you know, you're gonna take it away from him because he can't do. Where do they do that at? Huh? Where do they do that at? That's disrespectful. That's disrespectful. And that's the reason why I had to say it that way. Because if the shoe was on the other foot, I'll assure you, if you couldn't take care of yourself, your man would take care of you because he chose you. You're the apple of his eye. You know, that's the main reason why, ladies, you want the man to choose you, because he's going to protect you. You see what I'm saying? That's the reason why most of our men fall apart. They die. Believe it or not, most black men don't even get a chance to collect Social Security before they die. I know that for a fact. My dad died when I was 18 years old. My mom just not getting his Social Security. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? My dad never saw no parts of that. And believe it or not, there's a whole lot of other men who die, who put into the system, who never even reap from that. So with that being said, I think we probably need to start giving men a little bit more respect. We got to start honoring men. You know, that's what the Bible says: honor thy mother and father, that your days may be long. You know, that's real talk. Women need to start honoring their husbands, like for real, because the little undertones that I'm hearing in these YouTube streets, I don't hear honor. Most times I hear disrespect, and it's veiled in sarcasm. It really is. Until the last minute, you know what I'm saying? Until that wall shows up, or till life shows up when they actually need a man. You know, I don't need no man, blah, 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 blah. Y'all know the routine. And then all of a sudden, when he's gone, you miss him. All of a sudden, when he's laying in his casket, you want to give him flowers. Why didn't you tell that man you loved him while he was here, when he could hear it? You know, even sometimes in nature, man, they do men wrong. Did y'all know that honeybees actually kill off their males in the wintertime? Did y'all know that? Yeah, they kill the drones off in the wintertime to make sure they don't eat the honey from the babies. And the rest of the other bees, the worker bees, all those are girl bees, you know? They kick them out. And if you go by a honey nest or a apiary where the bees are in the honey hive, if you look at the ground, all you're gonna see is nothing but male bees on the ground outside the hive, dead. They kicked them out. Rest in peace to the male bees, you know? And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you know, you'll have one male bee show up in the springtime, you know, impregnating the queen. That's their only job, is to sleep with the queen, you know, get her pregnant, have all the babies that make honey, and the cycle continues. Man, nature don't do men right. I was watching a documentary about this old lion, man, that was out there, and the young lions came up there, and they saw he was old, and they just jumped him. Like 3 or 4 younger lions just jumped on top of him. He was the king. You know, he was protecting his pride or whatever. They messed around and got him by himself. And the first thing they did was they broke his back. They broke his back. They didn't even eat him. They just bit him and broke his back. And let the queens know and the cubs know, you know, it's some new guys in town. You know, broke his back. They didn't even fight for him. None of that stuff. And people are wondering why men are walking away. Because they're not celebrated. They're not appreciated. They're mishandled, abused, you know, misunderstood. Nobody wants to listen to them. But yet men are supposed to die for you. And I'll assure you, guys won't say this out loud, but I'm gonna say it out loud. Why should I die for someone who don't respect me? You know? And that's the benevolent part of men. That's the part of man that's connected to God. We still gonna do it anyway.
Did you hear what I said?
We still gonna do it anyway. You know, that's the God side of us. Even though we can't get nothing like that in return, that's the reason why men should commune with God. Real talk. That's the only way you're gonna have a conversation with somebody who can relate to you. You know, think about it, man. There's nothing that we can give God, but yet he gives us everything. And it's the same way with men. You know, men give everything that they got. But when it comes our turn, you know, we get socks. You know, we get these lame ties y'all give us. You know what I'm saying? I always tell women, stop giving men trash gifts, you know, for birthdays and or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Stop giving the gift that keeps on giving. Y'all know what I'm talking about. That thing that y'all give out on Valentine's Day as a gift. Stop that. You know, stop that. I remember I was watching a video with this lady who was giving her vows to her husband. And then they was talking about through richer for poor. And then she started stumbling with the words poor. And then the pastor was like, you know, we talked about that. She was like, you know, you can't be, you know, Darius, we talked about it. You can't be poor, brother. She gonna leave you. And the pastor was cool with that. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, Pastor,
did you hear what I said?
Why would you even marry them knowing that she gonna be like that? You doing this man a disservice. You want to officiate the wedding, but I'm sure you probably got a cousin that's gonna do the divorce too.
Did you hear what I said?
It's a racket, man. It's a racket. So a real preacher would have pulled him to the side, was like, I don't think y'all should get married because this is serious. This is serious. Oh, marriage serious. You know why? Because I'm making a promise to God. I'm making a promise to my wife. I'm making a promise to my father. I'm making a promise to her father. I'm making a promise to my grandfathers and her grandfathers that we're going to continue on a legacy. You know what I'm saying? And I hold that responsibility very seriously. But I think a lot of people don't look at it that way. You know, when they get divorced, they look, as we call it in spades, you reneging. You know what I'm saying? You went back on your deal. When you sit up here and you said you was gonna take care of this woman and you lied, you know? Or this woman said she's gonna take care of this man and you lied. The slightest little bit of inconvenience, y'all want to get divorced. You know, that's not what you told God. See, when you make a promise to God, that's a covenant. You know, that's what that is. That's a bond between you, your woman, and God. And the minute that you kick God out of your relationship, good luck, because it's just a matter of time before the devil move in.
Did you hear what I said?
You know what I'm saying? He gonna move into your relationship and he gonna have a good time. You hear me? You hear me? He's gonna pull up all up in your marriage. Well, we're moving on now. He gonna wreak havoc, you know? The devil gonna start whispering in your wife's ear, you know, I could use a little bigger house, you know. And then you ask her, well, we have any bigger money? Well, Well, you are the man, you're supposed to go out and do these things. Ladies, my thing is this: don't demand something that you're not willing to put the effort in as well too. That's where the whole equally yoked thing comes in. If your dreams are bigger than your purse, you need to curtail that thing or figure out a way how to get it. There's only one or two ways to solve a money problem. Either you go out and make more money, which you'll have less time, or you'll conserve what you already have and you have to cut back. Most people don't like to cut back.
Did you hear what I said?
Most people don't like to do that. That's called fiscal responsibility. Most people don't want to do that. They just want to burn through money, man. I'll show you. If you got somebody who don't understand money, who don't understand numbers, don't marry them. They figure money just come out of the trees. Kevin Samuels had a whole show about, women having unrealistic expectations of what it costs to have a marriage, and how much it costs for a man realistic today to survive. He's going to have 6 figures. What? That's a big number, man. 6 figures is from $100,000 all the way up to $999,000. Which one is it? How much money were you planning on spending? You know what I'm saying? How much garbage and trash do you need? I'm here to tell you, man. At the end of the day, all of this stuff going in the trash.
Did you hear what I said?
You can't take none of it with you. Nope. I used to have this little conversation with my ex all the time. I was like, man, every time you look up, you buy something, in a few more months it's in the trash. I'm thinking to myself, did you really need that? We could have put that money to something else, but we don't think about stuff like that. I don't know if y'all got any investments or not. If you ever seen your money double before, that is a magical feeling. He said, man, I put in $100. Now I got 2. You know what I'm saying? That's a magical feeling because you didn't have to work for the other 100. That's when the money starts rolling in. I didn't do nothing with that. So that's the whole goal, is to get to the point where you're at the beginning of your life, you're working for your money. Toward the end of the life, your money is working for you. So that goes back to what I was saying earlier. Is the kingship for sale? Is it for sale? No, it's not. No, it's not. You can't buy it because you didn't give it. It's not yours to give. It's not yours to take away. Only God can grant that. And I wish we would stop trying to usurp God, as if we made the universe. You know what I'm saying? True enough, sometimes, ladies, God will use you to bring life into this world. But I'll show you, he does grant the magical part of life, the spark of life. You know what I'm saying? True enough, we get together, whatever, but God gives the personalities. God gives the spark of life. He grants the increase. And that's the main reason why we got to stop taking credit for stuff that we're not responsible for. Even the Bible, it gives you a clue. God says, I'm your Jehovah Jireh. I'm your provider. So why are you looking at your husband? Putting that type of pressure on him. You know what I'm saying? Let's be honest. God said, I'm your provider. He even also said in the Bible, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things will be added unto it. He's trying to tell you to keep your eye focused on him. A lot of people don't even know why. God knows where the fertile land is. God knows where the devil is. You know what I'm saying? He knows where all the trouble is hiding around the corner. You don't. That's why he says obedience is better than sacrifice. He don't have time to explain to you that in about 21 days, the devil's going to show up. He's going to tempt your marriage. He's going to tempt you, from cheating. He's going to, put you in a position where you probably lose your job. If he told you everything that was going to happen before it happened, you'll probably faint and give up and not move on. The Bible even tells you not to faint and get weary. You know what I'm saying? Don't get weary and faint. He won't have time to sit down and have a conversation with each and every last one of us. That's why he says obedience is better than sacrifice. He'll sit in the Holy Spirit and whisper in your ear and say, hey, do what I tell you to do now. And all you got to do is say, yes, sir. You know what I mean? That's all you got to do. It tell you, says Matthew 6:33, but seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Thank you so much for my scholar over here finding all the scriptures. That she knows I don't have time to look it up, but she knows I know them. I appreciate that. But I want to thank you. Appreciate it. You always helping us out over here, making sure that we get this word, this good word out here. 9 times out of 10, let me tell y'all something, man. There's not very few guys out here who's willing to do what I do. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, man, guys will sit up here and they'll play the role of, you know, hey, I'm just going to say what I have to say. But, you know, if I'm going to be the only person that's going to back up with what God said with the word, then so be it. You know, thank you for putting this up. She said Galatians 6:9, and let us not be weary in well doing, for in due season we shall reap if we not faint. See, that's what I'm talking about. We on the same page. We on the same page. Thank you, darling. Thank you. But here's my thing. If I got to be the only person that do it, so be it. You know, so be it. But I will tell you this, though. Hopefully, I'll be a good shepherd. If I'm out of line, I want y'all to step on my toes and say, hey, look, that's not right. That's not right. I don't mind being told I'm not right. But my thing is this. If I see somebody say something that's wrong, I'm going to say something. And no tea, no shade. But, you know, God put that thing in me. He was like, hey, if you want people to respect you, you got to be able to step on a few toes. You know what I'm saying? And then put the blanket on and say, it's going to be all right. But, you know, this is what God commands. You know, there's a reason why. We can have the conversation, the reason why. Now, here's the thing. Back in the day, we used to have a conversation with older people. Older people just say, just do what I tell you to do. You know, oftentimes they really never filled in the blank. They never told us why we shouldn't do it. Well, guess what? I'm going to take the time out to tell you why you shouldn't do it. Because I ain't got nothing but time. You know, you shouldn't have kids out of wedlock because it confuses the kids. You know, is this my daddy? You know, why my last name different from theirs? You know, all that type of stuff. So with that being said, that's the main reason why some of the smaller things that we talk about, you know, should be discussed. It really should. And that's the main reason why we're going to start having these conversations. You know, I really wasn't going to go live tonight to tell you. She said, I appreciate that you did this live. It'd be nice to see you do more of these without the entire panel. You know what? I can tell you, I promise you, that's how I started out. If you go back to some about beginning of my other stuff, that was the good stuff. You know, I don't like to be drowned out because I got a message, man. I really do. And I think it's a conversation that we really need to have. And I also would love to talk to you guys, you know, one-on-one, and just to hear your voices and to actually know people. Everybody in the chat I already know personally. You know what I'm saying? But I would love to hear y'all voices from time to time. You don't have to come up because I already know you. If you got a wrench, I already know. I already know who you are. But at the end of the day, that's what makes a conversation good. You know, sometimes you want to ask questions and I got answers. You know, sometimes if I don't have answers, I'm gonna find somebody who do have the answers, you know. But that's my whole spiel, man, is to make sure that whenever we, you know, say stuff, we have to make sure we are careful when we say it, because sometimes people may take it a different way. And yesterday, that little comment kind of rubbed me the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? It's not your kingship to give up, you know, because you didn't give it. Thus saith the Lord. Respectfully, you know what I'm saying? Respectfully. So with that being said, if anybody would like to come up, I'm going to go ahead and wrap everything up. Did you guys have any other questions before I go? Before we wrap this thing up? Anything at all? Anything at all? Nope. I didn't see nobody say anything. I guess we'll wrap everything up. Listen, y'all, when you get an opportunity, make sure you guys share the live, hit like and subscribe. She said you missed yesterday's live. Well, baby, go back and watch BMU. You'll see why I'm in a mood today. You know, I just had to make sure I got this in. But the reason why I did it late is because those of you who are probably up late probably needed to watch something anyway. And I'm also testing late nights. You know what I mean? Because 9 times out of 10, I don't usually go to bed at about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning anyway, because I've already slept. So my thing is this: if I'm going to be up, I might as well be productive. Kind of go over the topics that we talked about that day. Kind of chew on it, kind of pretty much like an after show type of show where we can talk about what we talked about earlier. Because 9 times out of 10, we probably didn't get in everything that we need to get in because we're, trying to be accommodating to everybody on the panel to make sure everybody gets in what they have to get in. But sometimes, man, I love y'all to death, but sometimes we can draw stuff out forever, man. And we don't really get to the meat of what we need to talk about because sometimes we get in our feelings. We want to tell everybody how great we are, instead of telling people how good God is. I think sometimes we forget that, we want to tell everybody our experiences or whatever. That's good and well, but tell us how your experience gave God the glory. Can we get to that part? She said, thank you for covering this topic. Bless you too. Bless you too, baby. And I appreciate y'all for coming out. But like I stated earlier, that's the main reason why I came on tonight, so I can have a one-on-one conversation with you guys. Because I wanted to make sure that we cover certain topics, man, like edification. Make sure that you prop people up when they need to be propped up, and you also have the conversation that needs to be had. Sometimes when it's hard, sometimes when it's your own friends, you're like, hey, I ain't gonna dress you down in front of everybody, but you best believe we're gonna have this conversation later on. Like tonight, the kingship is not yours to give or take away. It's really not. And I think we need to start remembering that. We got to start giving men more respect, because I think they'll come back to society. I think that's probably the real reason why men stop going out on dates or whatever, because they don't feel respected. How would you feel if you went out and you built the whole entire world and you don't feel respected? You ask for certain things and then you feel disrespected, just like this whole lady from Germany. Everybody got in the world was like, hey, how come she can talk about, she's not in a position to talk about what we doing over here? Yes, she is. I'm gonna tell you why. Because your men have been telling you the exact same thing, but you didn't listen.
Did you hear what I said?
You didn't listen. It's funny that somebody else, a white woman on the other side of the world, can get your attention, but your man has your ear right there and you don't hear nothing he says.
Did you hear what I said?
Man, I think that's the question we got to start asking. Why does it take somebody else to say something that we've been saying for you to hear it? I'm gonna leave y'all with that one tonight. That's a good question. Why does somebody else have to say something that your man already had to say for it to get your attention? We're gonna make that be the next show right there. Yes, indeed. And yep, you're right, King Boss. She was right. She was absolutely right. Because here's the thing: the stuff that she was doing, people were saying it was mediocre and basic. Well, we can't even get the mediocre or the basic. We can't get a thank you. We can't get 3 hot meals. We can't get none of that. Stuff that really don't cost you nothing, It's the disrespect, man. Like Kevin says, it's a low boiling contempt for men that goes without being said, But my whole thing is this: it shouldn't have to go around the world and come out of somebody else's mouth before it gets your attention, especially if your man said it. And that's the disrespect. We don't think it's disrespect because it don't affect us, Think about it. If a white guy came out and said, you black guys, you don't take care of your women. We're going to say, go ahead, brother. Come over. Pick you one on out. You know what I'm saying? Just like that guy in Hawaii, man. He went and got him a sister. He'd have moved her all the way to Hawaii, and all of a sudden they need space. Man, come on. We know the game, brother. We know the game. And the killing part about it is no different anywhere else. It always comes back to respect, man. You can get you a woman that respects you right here. It's probably going to be hard, which it really shouldn't be, which speaks to more of our society. But at the end of the day, you can find somebody right here. And it may take you a while, but I'll show you, you find a woman that's worth it. It's going to be worth it, brothers. It really is. But at the same time, you got to know what you're going to have to put up with, know what you can live with, know what you can't live without, Make sure you stand for what you believe in and don't bend and don't break. I'm not saying don't be accommodating, but you got to know your non-negotiables. My non-negotiable is disrespect. My non-negotiable is manipulation because it doesn't move in truth. Yep. If you're not moving in truth, you can't move with me. If you move with manipulation, you can't move with me because God can't bless that. God can't bless deceit. You know what I'm saying? I already know this. Me and him already had this conversation. He's not gonna bless, deceit. But he will honor a cheerful heart and a cheerful giver all day long. He already said that. He promised that already. But I think we got to get back to doing what he said do instead of what the world says, because we feel alone. But if you know, God said, I will never leave you and forsake you. He said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. That ought to give you comfort right there. Not to rest in the bosoms of people who don't mean you no good. Deceit is of the devil, to tell you. It really is. It really is. That's why I can't hang around a whole bunch of people, man, that's deceitful. And sometimes people are manipulative and don't even know they're doing it. It just come natural. But I think that comes from lack of knowing yourself and not knowing yourself. It really is. So with that being said, hopefully you guys have taken what I said with a big old huge grain of salt and a huge grain of caution, and just be a little bit better than you were yesterday. I'm trying my best to be better than I was yesterday. But sometimes certain things don't sit with me right. But like I said earlier, the kingship is not yours to give nor take away. That has already been established. And I appreciate y'all for coming out. If anybody else had anything to say, may the Lord watch between me and you while we absent, one from another. Amen. Good night, y'all.